All right, I think we're going to get started here. Thank you everybody for joining us today. My name is Ashley Bradish. I'm Director of External Affairs and Public Relations for Golden Valley Electric Association. We certainly appreciate you taking your time out of your day to come listen to some exciting news. Also with me are Christopher McLean, Assistant Administrator for the USDA Rural Development Rural Utility Service, Julia Nilica, USDA Rural Development State Director for Alaska. From Homer Electric Association, we have Carrie Ann Baker, Chief Strategy Officer, and Sarah Lamb, Chief Financial Officer, and also Travis Millian, President and CEO of Golden Valley Electric Association. So I mentioned exciting news. We're here today to talk about significant federal funding awards coming into Alaska through the USDA Rural Development Programs Empowering Rural America, or New Era, and the Powering Affordable Clean Energy, or PACE programs. So these awards, which together amount to over $500 million, will be going to two Railbelt Electric Cooperatives, Homer Electric Association, and Golden Valley Electric Association. That is $500 million with a B, if you didn't hear me. It's a substantial achievement by these utilities, and a noteworthy investment by USDA Rural Development as well. So our speakers are going to provide some more details on these programs as well as the awarded projects, and then we'll have some time for questions. I will mention that we are live streaming this as well via YouTube. I do apologize for a little bit of a late start, but we'll start here in the room with questions and then move on to online if we have any there. So first up, I'll invite Chris McLean up here.
Thank you very, very much, and thank you for attending. Again, my name is Christopher McLean. I'm the Assistant Administrator of the Rural Utility Service Electric Programs. RUS is a federal agency in the Department of Agriculture. We are the successor to the Rural Electrification Administration, created in 1935 by President Franklin Roosevelt. And so the Rural Utility Service is the modern administrator of that legislation, the Rural Electrification Act. And we are here to celebrate three very, very big things. One, an award to the good folks at Alaska Electric Energy Cooperative, a subsidiary of Homer Electric, for the Powering Affordable Clean Energy Program, PACE, and made possible by the Inflation Reduction Act, a piece of legislation that's been in the news a lot and is really, really important, and is the authorization behind these important awards. And secondly, we're going to talk about an award to Golden Valley under the new Empowering Rural America, the New Era program. That's very exciting. And then probably the most exciting thing to celebrate today too is Julia's birthday. Julia has sacrificed a lot to be with us today. It's not only her birthday, it's also hunting season. And I am just deeply honored by having Julia with us. Julia is our State Director of Rural Development. So if you think of rural development, the three federal agencies in USDA Rural Utility Service, where I work, Rural Business Cooperative Service, and Rural Housing Service, we are kind of like a bank that finances rural economic development from below the ground up. We finance telecom, electric, and water in my agency, and Rural Housing Service. They finance single-family, multi-family housing, community facilities, and Rural Business Cooperative Services. They finance all kinds of business development, cooperative development, energy efficiency, and clean energy projects. So if you think of rural development as a bank within the Department of Agriculture to finance rural America, Julia is the president of the Alaska branch of our bank. And so she is a very, very important person here and has been very, very supportive of us in this program. So the Inflation Reduction Act was an extraordinary piece of legislation. And I know you get a lot of information. It's like the biggest single investment in clean energy in the history of the country. But for me, at the Rural Utility Service, it's even more important as the biggest single investment in rural electrification since the New Deal. And it had for us at RUS funding for two important programs, PACE, which we just talked about, and New Era, In Julia's domain, over in the State Office of Rural Development, there was also extra money for another program called the Renewable Energy for America program, the REAP program, which makes investments in renewable power and energy efficiency for farm operations and for rural businesses. So there was $9.7 billion for the New Era program, $1 billion for the PACE program, and over $1 billion for the REAP program in that single piece of legislation. But wait, there was more. In addition to those direct grants and loans authorized under that legislation, there was for the very first time direct pay tax incentives for rural electric cooperatives, municipal utilities, and tribal utilities. So up until now, co-ops like Golden Valley or Homer Electric, they couldn't take advantage of the renewable energy incentives that were available to the rest of the electric utility industry because, by and large, cooperatives are tax exempt organizations, so there's no taxes to offset with your tax credits. And so that has slowed down the transition to cleaner, more modern sources of energy for a lot of rural electric cooperatives. And the Inflation Reduction Act cracked that riddle and said, wait a minute, why don't we have a direct pay tax incentive? So instead of offsetting your tax deduction against your taxes that you owe, the Department of Treasury, once you complete these projects, will write a check as a tax credit. You'll get a cash payment in lieu of the tax credit. So you put all of these pieces together, you have a tremendous incentive for investments in clean energy and new technology and affordable sources of power at a very critical time as infrastructure is aging and in need of modernization. So a year ago, I came to Alaska, came to Valdez. Julie and I had a great road trip from Anchorage to Valdez to participate in the Alaska Power Association meeting, which now we're here again a year later. And a year ago, I was here to talk about these opportunities. And I will tell you, at the time I was here a year ago, we were not sure that we would have enough applications to be able to use up all of this money in one round of funding. So, well, you know, we'll put the money out, maybe we'll get a couple rounds of funding, we won't get it used up. Boy, were we surprised. And we were delighted. The PACE program was oversubscribed by about a factor of 12. The New Era program was oversubscribed by more than a factor of 4. Rural electric cooperatives around the country, and in particular here in Alaska, really answered the call. We had a tremendous amount of innovation and imagination unlocked by this offering. And so we had a very difficult competitive process. We have had to disappoint a lot of people, but the folks at the table here from Homer and from Golden Valley are very, very fortunate. They worked very hard. They put forward really strong applications. They competed with others around the country, and we're here to celebrate this major accomplishment. Because this time a week ago, President Biden was in a place called Westby, Wisconsin, which is just outside of La Crosse, Wisconsin, to announce the very first award to a cooperative, Dairyland cooperative, in the New Era program, and then to announce the 16 finalists or 16 selectees to be able to get funding under the New Era program. And one of those was Golden Valley. And that's why we're here today, to be able to say congratulations to Golden Valley for a job well done, for envisioning a future, to getting ahead of the investment curve. And we were really delighted to be able to work with Golden Valley as well as Homer Electric on the PACE program. So, New Era, which Golden Valley won an award for, is a loan and grant combination. We will be offering grant support to be able to help them through the transition to new energy sources. And then in the PACE program for the Homer project, we will be offering partially forgivable loans. So once the projects are done, a part of the loan taking out will be forgiven by the United States Department of Agriculture to be able to help make these projects financially feasible. So of the 16 projects that the president announced last week, taken together, they will reduce carbon by 43.7 million metric tons. That's equivalent to about 10 million cars taken off the road, and will create 10 gigawatts of new clean energy. The $7.3 billion that the president announced a week ago for this set of projects will leverage $29 billion of additional investment, because this is a partnership that in the case of New Era, it's a loan grant combination, so we don't cover all of the money with grants. It's only 25% of the project costs are covered by grants. And then again, in the PACE program, only partial forgiveness of the loan. So the cooperatives that have participated in these programs, they're also putting their money into the mix here and leveraging that federal investment to be able to make power cleaner, more affordable, more reliable, and preparing for the future. So with that, I'm going to turn the podium over to our great, one of the country's best state directors, Julia, and our special birthday honoree, to tell you what this means for the state of Alaska.
Anabasi, Chris, very nice of you to introduce me in such a generous way. It's so wonderful to see so many friends in the room. It's really incredible as a ratepayer of GVEA to get to be part of this announcement. As Chris said, I'm Julia Nelica. I grew up in Nenana for my entire life. I've only recently relocated down to the Anchorage area, thanks to getting to work in this incredible job where I get to impact the lives of Alaskans and help support the lives of Alaskans through a multitude of, we say over 70 programs. I think that's because we actually can't count how many programs we have. And that's because we got to do really, really exciting things, like work with the Inflation Reduction Act. And as Chris mentioned, 1 year ago, we came and we were floating this idea of how these programs were going to work. And it is just really, it speaks to the dedication, to the passion of service that our co-ops here in Alaska and to our federal partners as well, to be able to come together and in that time put together such an incredible application that this is no easy lift. And we are just so grateful to be able to have these partnerships throughout rural America and especially here in rural Alaska. We've really enjoyed the opportunity to get to have a lot of our federal partners come up and learn about the challenges and the unique opportunities that we have here in Alaska. So I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful to get to represent and to get to be that conduit between people who work so hard to serve all Americans and then getting to show them how we can serve Alaska in a different way because we have so many differences here. And that is just, it is a complete joy. And so I just want to give you a little taster of what else rural development does, so that if you hear of any of these avenues that you might have a project in or a community that you know is interested in, I want you to know that rural development is the agency to reach out to. So we work in housing, single family housing, multifamily housing. We work with community facilities. We also have cooperative development. We have business programs. We have small business support. We have workforce development. And then, as Chris also mentioned, on the utilities side, we have water and sewer. We have landfills. We have broadband. We have distance learning telemedicine, which is one of the most incredible programs here in Alaska that we get to use. And the list just really goes on. And what else we are tasked with at Rural Development here in Alaska is we are part of the Rural Partners Network. And what that means
is that when communities in the regions that we're working with come to us and say, we have this need, we don't look at it and we say, that doesn't fit our programs, good luck, go talk to some other feds. No, what we are able to do then is we have other people designated in other federal agencies to directly communicate to be able to tell them about the needs that we have here in Alaska and connect those projects to those funding streams. So it's another way for communities, which we here in Alaska especially understand, don't always have the people power to be able to fill out arduous applications, to be able to do the reporting. So I just say this to let you know that rural development is a resource for you here in Alaska. We have an office here in Fairbanks. Our state office is in Palmer. We have an office in Kenai, and then we have another office down in Sitka. So we are available. Please reach out to me directly if you have any questions. And I'd like to turn it over with my deep, deep gratitude to our partners. First, Carrie Ann Baker.
Thank you. And thank you to Chris as well. You know, it's really interesting when you talk about the true historic nature of what is happening here. You know, since the 1930s, there haven't been this level of federal investment for rural utilities. And as somebody who works in this industry, and frankly, I'm proud to produce power. The work we do is important. We change people's lives. And I like serving a small rural community. HEA is really a unique rural utility in the sense that we have members and communities that are on the road system. We have members that are off the road system. We have some fairly well-maintained and modern systems, and we have some parts of our system that could use a little sprucing up. And so to have the federal government take a look at the true needs of our country and our utilities and provide this level of investment is pretty exciting. So I'd just like to thank you. I'm not going to sing happy birthday, but we appreciate it. We appreciate the opportunity to be here in Fairbanks, and a big thank you to Golden Valley and their team and their board members who have just made us feel very, very welcome. So I'd like to talk a little bit about what has happened to HEA as a result of these kind of awards. You know, like I said, we serve a very diverse membership. So we're going to use our PACE award to purchase a battery. And it's our second battery that we purchased. Instead of a 2-hour battery, we're going to go with a 4-hour battery, so it kind of doubles up on what we're doing. And what that allows us to do is integrate utility scale intermittent energy without impacts to system reliability. That sounds like a mouthful, but let me tell you how it works out in practical sense. So we've been working with a number of IPPs, independent power producers. Well, when they submit their proposals to us, a lot of times they're trying to price them at the volatility in the natural gas market. So we really want to diversify. We know we've been too reliant on natural gas, but our board wants to do it at the lowest cost possible. It's not enough for us just to diversify because we owe a duty to our members to do it responsibly. So this battery has allowed us to enter into a PPA for 30 megawatts of solar. It's going to integrate into the transmission system. It's the first time an IPP has done that in Alaska. And the price that we signed it at is below our current cost of fuel. That's how diversification is done right, at a price that our members can afford. So thank you to the federal government for allowing us to take these steps forward. A couple of other things that we're going to do is we're looking into maybe using this to do a virtual power plant concept. Now that would open this wide up. We wouldn't have to be co-located next to the generation unit. We're still studying it. It's still very early. We don't know how it's going to work out. But if we can do that, we can accommodate more than one generation project. And we want lots of competition. We want to get our fuel source from any source whatsoever at the lowest price that is safe and easy to integrate. Another thing we want to do is we want to provide modern service to all parts of our system. I mentioned that we have communities that are off the road system. So right now we're waiting to hear if we received a GRIP 2 award under topic area 1 for our South Catchment Bay communities. Being able to combine the PACE Award with a GRIP Award and upgrade that community will be transformative for them. We're already working with Chugach-Mute in the villages of Port Graham and Nanwalek for their locally sourced and sited energy. And these two projects would work together to really help our system out. I'd like to turn it over to Sarah Lamb, our CFO, so she can just really talk through the numbers and how they're going to benefit our members.
You're going to get the very practical accounting view of this one. Again, I would like to just echo the thanks to USDA and the partners that we've had and the application. It was a really wonderful opportunity to work with staff from all of the departments in our company to submit the application. I'm extraordinarily proud of our efforts and subsequent awards. So thank you. AEC, as mentioned, was awarded a PACE grant. That means that we got and actually we were also awarded the maximum amount under that program of $100 million. We also qualify for the maximum amount of the loan forgiveness, which was going to be 60%. In addition to the opportunities provided to us through PACE under the IRA, as Chris mentioned, also opened up the possibility for not-for-profit utilities to submit for tax incentives that had not been available to us in the past. And excuse me, AEC expects that our battery will qualify for up to a 40% tax credit. We also plan to work with our successful bidder once we competitively bid this project out to ensure BABA, or Buy America, Build America domestic content compliance, to obtain up to an additional 10% of that tax credit. This monumental opportunity will allow AEC options for the diversification of its generation resources, and we look forward to working with our partners at USDA and the IRS to fund and successfully complete the project for what will end up being about pennies on the dollar. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Travis to have him describe some of the opportunities that have been afforded to him under rural development.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Again, Travis Millian, President and CEO of Golden Valley Electric. Heartfelt thanks also to the USDA. This opportunity that came upon Golden Valley is immense. It is quite the opportunity, as Chris said. I mean, it was almost like playing baseball and coming up and knocking out 2 grand slams in one game. It just doesn't happen. Obviously, we wanted to put in for every opportunity we could with this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity with these programs, and we were able to knock it out of the park. It's phenomenal. So on the PACE program, to start with first, we also got awarded $100 million within that program. What we're looking to do on that program is to install a 46 megawatt 2-hour battery with a PPA for a 16 megawatt solar project. And the reason why that is important is with this program, without this program, you could not just bring in solar, wind, or these non-dispatchable resources, meaning you can't just turn on the switch and expect them to come on. If the sun's down, you're not going to get solar, or if the wind's not blowing, you're not going to get wind. But the batteries will allow you to regulate those non-dispatchable resources. If we didn't have the batteries, we would have to rely upon our fossil fuel burning generation units in order to regulate that non-dispatchable resource. So ultimately saving our members a ton of money to be able to integrate these resources in. And so going forward with the PACE program, going to be really beneficial for our membership to where it's going to help us diversify our generation portfolio. And the more diversification you have, the more secure and predictable the cost can be going forward. Under the New Era program, which is, I think, even bigger to us, is a number of different things go into that program. The first thing is another 46 megawatt, either 2 or 4 hour battery that'll go into that, helping us to regulate more wind resources. Also with that is a 36-mile long transmission line that will be starting basically northeast of town, looping up over north of Fairbanks into the Fort Knox substation. Then it'll continue on down to our North Pole power plant. What that does is it gives us a secondary redundant transmission line that allows us more capacity to move along our system and builds redundancy. And that line will allow us to bring in more renewable resources. We're looking at an IPP of potentially 150 megawatts of wind around the Shovel Creek area. In order to do that, we needed the battery and the transmission line to make that happen. The biggest thing that we're looking at right now, which we're still in negotiations for the pricing, but our initial look is that may not be a humongous cost decrease immediately for our members, but what it does, it gives us a very long-term, sustainable, predictable cost that increases far less than what we're predicting our current generation fleet to do. So in the long run, looking out 10 to 20 years, it's going to save our members a bunch of money going forward. So both of these projects, again, would not be possible without the grants from the USDA and these loan programs. So we're overly excited for this opportunity. It's going to be a big benefit for all of GVEA's members, but in particular with the new era, it doesn't just benefit Golden Valley, but it actually benefits the entire rail belt, because the size of that project, 150 megawatts of wind, in the summertime, our peak doesn't even touch that. We're only about 120 megawatts for peak. So additional energy can be shipped down south to benefit the south central areas as well. So not just a Golden Valley benefit, but the state of Alaska and rail belt benefit. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Ashley for any questions that anybody may have. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Travis and our speakers, you guys aren't off the hook yet. We are going to do questions. We'll start here in the room, and for the benefit of those online, it would be great if we could use the microphone, so I'll walk around and do that. If you have a question, please raise your hand and state your name and affiliation. That would be great. Yeah, Representative Stack.
Hi, my name's Will. I'm a GVEA ratepayer. So is your assumption on long-term costs predicated on the deployment of Shovel Creek? Or does this just benefit the grid resilience, the extra transmission line, and the battery? Is that cost efficient for just Eva Creek, or is that anticipating the deployment of Shovel Creek?
So with that, the analysis we've been running on this, it's a combination of all the above. So obviously the PPA price for Shovel Creek goes into that equation. But yes, the batteries will help with our Eva Creek project that we have now that we're currently regulating with our North Pole Power Plant is our primary regulation point. Mostly because our current battery is not designed for regulation purposes. It's designed as it's being used for restoring from power outages. So it's an all-in approach. The batteries, the transmission, obviously that helps with resiliency and redundancy and reliability. But then yes, the price that we're looking out at is what we're estimating for the PPA price over, say, the next 20 years.
And can I do a quick follow-up? So could you just say the numbers? The homework folks are really good about the numbers and the debt forgiveness, and of course the match percentages. What are our numbers? If you could, Travis.
Yeah. So I'll touch on PACE, and our PACE award is almost exactly like Homer's is. There was a $100 million grant with a 60% loan forgiveness. With that as well, there's a ITC of 40% tax credit on the battery portion of it. With, I think we qualify for up to 60% total tax forgiveness with Made in America, Build in America, and what was the community? There's another portion of it that would qualify for another 10%. So I think up to 60% tax credit.
And if I might add, what is very unique, what's very unique about Golden Valley, this is 2 home runs. They were on the first wave of announcements under the PACE program. And then last week, the first wave of announcements under the New Era program. One of the very few, and we'll see what happens if it's only, because we still are analyzing other applications. But at least one of the very few, if not the only, applicant who was able to win in both fields, both PACE and New Era. And then to make it a triple play, the tax credits are going to add and make this project even more attractive to the utility and to the consumers.
Other questions in the room? Mr. Dijon.
I'm Carter with the News Miner. So since these grants are part of a Biden administration program, are there concerns that the money could become unavailable under the next administration? I guess that's probably a better question for you, Mr. McLean.
So I am a career civil servant, and I will answer that we believe that we have strong support for the program, and it's our agency operates in a very bipartisan manner. What we are doing is just working very diligently to be able to make these awards, and we think these are rock solid and good awards in and of themselves. Again, our agency's been very, very fortunate over the years to enjoy strong bipartisan support, and we will continue to do everything to continue that.
Thank you so much. Yes, my name's Stuart. I work for Representative Carrick. Anyway, my question is, I know that the Buy America, Build America requirements, I know that in other areas there have been efforts to get exemptions from those requirements. I know, for example, for tribal housing out in rural Alaska, there's an effort to do that. How much do those requirements add to any potential cost, and is there an effort by either HEA or GVEA to file for an exemption?
Well, I think I can speak for HEA that it's probably a little too soon for us to tell whether we would need that exemption. And we have not analyzed the cost of Buy America versus Buy Local. You know, cybersecurity and those kind of things require us anyway to keep up with standards that would make us buy certain things as well. So I don't know if you guys would have analyzed it. Yeah, I think the same answer for Golden Valley.
It's a bigger room than
So Patrick Gilchrist, KTVF Channel 11. This is probably for GVEA here. For the two batteries and the transmission line, I guess first part of the question, just the timeline for that for construction. And then second part, where will the added labor come from for construction, and will that add to operating costs down the road? And how much, if that's possible to answer at this time?
Yeah, so the batteries themselves, location, we're gonna have two of them located in different spots. The first one will be most likely down next to our existing BES, close to Van Horn Road. The other one will be most likely located along the route of the transmission line, kind of north of town is what we're looking at this point. Everything's still in preliminary design stages, so haven't got into the deep details of it. But obviously, as we're going into construction, we would be putting all that out to bid. There's a number of local construction companies that do transmission and substation and battery installation type work, so it would go out to a bidding process at that point in time. Regarding ongoing operation and maintenance, most likely you would have a couple more staff members, particularly with electricians' backgrounds or wireman backgrounds to maintain that, but it would be very similar to what we already have within our system, so it would be nothing new or unique, it's just more of it.
others. Yeah.
Brad Norski, General Manager from Electric Association, and all of you folks that are out there, I just have a comment. So this is a tremendous opportunity for both the cooperatives, and I'd certainly like to thank representatives from USDA for what they're doing. It's kind of ironic, since if you're familiar with the rail belt, Homer Electric is on the far south end, Golden Valley Electric is on the far north end, and we always feel like we're two tails on a dog. And so I think what I heard today was very encouraging and great news for the members of not only both the utilities, but the entire rail belt, which represents over 70% of Alaskans. So thank you, guys.
Hi, I'm Brian Kassoff, the Alaska Energy Transparency Project. This is a question for Travis Millian. It's actually a two-parter. One, are these batteries, the two batteries, going to be considered to meet that element of the strategic generation plan that GVEA is going after? And two, how do these mesh with the long duration storage project that is also being given a grant?
Great questions, thank you. Regarding the new batteries, obviously we're evaluating that still. One of the difficulties we're finding, especially with the PACE battery, is the uniqueness of Fairbanks. Trying to spec a battery that can operate at 60 below zero has been challenging, to say the least, but we're working through that. We know we're going to solve that problem. We're not too concerned with it. But I think ultimately when it comes down to it, what battery manufacturer can actually meet our specifications will determine whether we can meet the requirements for the Build America, Buy America, and whether we'd have to apply for the exemption or not. The really neat thing, you asked the question about how this would work. Well, first, strategic generation plan, yes. If you look through the strategic generation plan, one of the planks in the 5-plank plan was to add additional battery energy storage. So this definitely does meet and align with our strategic generation plan. The second part is the long duration energy storage project, which you're referring to. We received a $50 million grant through the DOE in partnership with Westinghouse, going through a front-end engineering design study for a pump thermal energy storage system or long duration energy storage. What this actually will do is, especially when we've got larger wind and solar on the system, is these lithium-ion fast response batteries will play very well with the long duration, to where as soon as, if the wind starts dying off or picking up rapidly, the lithium-ion can react very fast to that. And if the wind continued to die down, then the long duration energy storage would then kick in and start dispatching, and allows you a lot longer time to react if you had to bring on, say, a diesel or fossil fuel burning generation unit. So it buys you a lot more time with the long duration, but for the quicker response time, the lithium ion works really well that way, and then the longer duration, the pump thermal energy storage would kick in. So they actually marry up very, very well in our models.
All right, any more questions in the room? Okay, I'm not seeing any, and I don't think we have any online either yet. Give them another 10 seconds or so, okay? That's about right, I think. Well, if there's no other questions and still none online, okay. Well, this is going to conclude tonight. I think absolutely thank you all again for joining us, and hope you have a wonderful evening. Thanks very much.